Transmaxxing, also known as transmaxxing, is the act of transitioning to another gender in the hope that it may help you to escape inceldom. There have been a few case studies wherein transmaxxing has been proven to be a successful element in de-incelization. Transmaxxing, which involves surgery, is similar to castrate-maxing except that the latter has the end goal of vulceldom and doesn't involve a gender change. Reddit and other social media websites will not ban transmaxxing content. They will, however, ban content related to self-improvement of incels and dating abroad. Very interesting indeed. There is an entire forum created by Vintology dedicated to help involuntary celibates escape inceldom through transmaxxing on reddit.com/r/transmaxxing. Such dangerous information should be banned. It should also be shunned by the incel community. Only through traditionalism and dating abroad can we succeed.
Transmaxxing is a transition for personal gain.
I don't want to spend 70 hours a week working.
Get a personal trainer and become a true man. Well, I don't want to do all those things. It is a cold and calculated decision.
Plus you don't have to worry about birth control or anything.
You've never worn a dress?
No.
And does your boyfriend know about the transmaxing?
This removes testosterone.
You should potentially change your just to get cheaper car insurance.
I'm Tina, a former who managed to escape inceldom by transmaxing. And this is an incel's guide to transmaxing. In this series, I'll tell you everything you need to know to stop being an incel and become a girl instead.
Have you heard of transmaxing? I recently found out what transmaxing was, but something that a lot of females, especially lesbians, have been talking about recently, but they've been just called, bigot and transphobic for talking about it.
Transmaxxing is the act of transitioning to another gender in hope that it may help you to escape inceldom. Apparently incels are now transitioning to be a woman so they can get laid. Cannot make this up.
What is transmaxxing?
Transmaxxing is a few things. It's a Discord group. It's also a manifesto, which is both very strange but also full of a lot of hard data. Most of it is about making people's lives better. It was started as something aimed towards incels. It's the idea of kind of making yourself better, either via, surgery. Some include going to foreign countries and getting passports because supposedly women are more submissive in those countries. There's a multitude of different things, surgery maxing, and then in the darker ends of it, there's castrate maxing and there's transmaxing. So castrate maxing would be when one removes their sex drive entirely in order to no longer, have sexual desires.
To summarize then, that transmaxing is an extreme kind of thing related to trans ideology, whereby incels, who for anyone who doesn't know, these are people who tend to believe they can't get laid and they think the world's against them, or that it would be easier to just be a woman in that sense. And so they are transitioning into becoming either women or getting rid of their sex drive entirely because that would make them do better in this kind of incel.
Yeah, this Transmaxxing manifesto, which we are going to be going through, it is absolutely, I'm sorry, but batshit crazy. So this manifesto starts off by listing the potential benefits of transitioning from male to female, even if you don't actually have gender dysphoria and you're technically comfortable in your male body. These benefits include sexual excitement from having a feminine body. Now, this is something that is technically referred to as autogynephilia, if I'm saying that right. Odds are I'm not. But it's basically when a straight man would become aroused by thinking of himself having a female body because he is sexually attracted to a female body. And it's actually, I think, a pretty large reason why a lot of men transition to becoming women nowadays. I follow this account, Males of Reddit, on Twitter that just posts crazy things from the male to female subreddit. And there are just so many examples out there of trans women seemingly only being interested in transitioning because they want to have a hot female body that they themselves are attracted to. It's bizarre. But in any case, continuing, other benefits of transmaxing apparently include the superiority of female aesthetics, access to the transbian dating pool, full body orgasms, multiple orgasms from penile stimulation, your breasts will become sensitive, you will feel emotions stronger and be happier on estrogen, being able to attract cis lesbians if you become active enough, being able to attract high quality males for sex, softer skin and less or no acne, live longer, being able to extract resources from males. You will no longer be driven to do dangerous and idiotic things due to testosterone. You can stop and reverse hair loss. People will treat you better if they think you're female. You're less likely to get killed. You have access to female spaces, in parentheses, males are disgusting, and cheaper car insurance. I don't know about you, but I just love how they finish on cheaper car car insurance? Like, hey fellow guys, I know it might sound absolutely crazy to take hormones, potentially undergo surgery, change the way you dress and what you're called, basically your entire gender aesthetic in order to live as a woman when you're really not that interested in it. But did you know that you can actually save money on your car insurance? Like, okay, I guess, and as stupid as that argument is, it's actually probably one of the more valid ones on this list, because if you've been paying attention to the discourse surrounding transgenderism at all, you'll know that a lot of these things are just flat out not true. A lot of these points reference, I guess, better sexual experiences for trans people, as we have documented before on this channel. All of the surgery and the hormones, it can actually have very negative side effects to your sex life and just your sexual well-being, which isn't really a surprise when you think of it. And not only that, this list also mentions things like being able to attract cis lesbians and high-value males, when we have heard time and time again of different trans people complaining that, hey, such and such group doesn't want to date me because I am trans. I literally have never heard a trans person say that becoming trans actually expands your dating pool, because I'm pretty sure that's just not how that works. And there's also a meme we have here featuring the virgin antidepressant user compared to the Stacy transitioner. And here's the thing, I think a lot of these incels who are transmaxing, they're assuming that they can just transition into a super hot woman, which is not the case most of the time. And it's like, sure, there are absolutely trans women out there who pass perfectly and actually look super hot. You would never guess that they're biologically male, but they're absolutely not the norm. And if we're being real here, the vast majority of trans women, they just look like ugly women, like men in dresses, clearly. So fellas, if you are considering transmaxing, just be aware that even if you're not happy with the way you look as a male, it will almost undoubtedly be worse for you as a woman. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just the way things are. But still, let's go through this little meme a bit. On the left, we have the virgin antidepressant user. He's into frustrated rightist politics. He's not cute. He never will be. He's only getting uglier. He'll never have a girlfriend. He's not actually happy, only lied to by chemicals. He has bad clothes. No one cares about him. He's an atomized individual. He has destroyed his personality to be more useful to a system that hates him, but compared to the Stacy transitioner, she is growing ever more feminine and basically living a sexual fantasy 24/7. She also has the advantage of being one of the most oppressed minorities. Women and leftists will love you. She is authentically happy. She can sleep with men whenever she wants, probably with women too. She's actually special and worth remembering, on the right side of history, gets to wear all the fun stuff, massive friends group of transitioners and cis women, and expresses personality fully, does not care about productivity. And this flat out lie, this absolute delusion that men can just become Stacys by transitioning, it's accentuated by the fact that all throughout this Transmaxxing manifesto, they do include before and after photos of men who have transitioned who now do look like cute women. I'm not going to deny that a lot of these photos, yeah, these are males who do appear to be cute women, but A, I think it's just very important we stress this is not the norm for males who transition, and B, there's a lot of magic that can be done with lighting and specific angles that are more flattering. It's one thing to pass as a woman in a staged photo or even video. It's a very different thing, though, to actually pass as a woman in real life when you're talking to somebody. And you know what? When I first found out about transmaxing, as much as I initially was just repulsed and in a sort of way thought the whole thing was almost too hilarious for words, once I started reading more of that manifesto, it really just made me sad and pity the men who think that their lives are so bad and that society is so broken that transitioning is really the best option for them. I mean, the person who wrote this manifesto is anonymous, but you can tell reading it that they are someone who is just so blackpilled about the state of being male. Under the heading, How Medical Transition Affects Mating Options, this person writes, since females have the upper hand on the dating market, transitioning from male to female will usually improve your options when it comes to getting sex. He explains, becoming MTF transsexual is a way better option than being involuntarily celibate as a male. If you do not have autogynephilia as an incel, you can try to induce it. You can watch porn and imagine yourself as the female. There's also female POV porn you can try. Under the experience of becoming female, the author disclaims that before all of this, I 100% completely identified as a man's man type of internal mindset, very heterosexual, and gay stuff just did nothing for me. It was only out of desperation and having the right features that I attempted this gender transition. By right features, I mean I was only 5'8" starting out, and then he goes into his equipment size. He explains that reality is cruel sometimes. Since being on hormones, I have lost some height, so I'm I'm closer to 5'7" now, a true manlet if I ever decide to return to manhood. Later in the manifesto, under the heading The Male Gender Role is Broken, it's written that, let's face it, if you present as male, there's exactly one personality that will earn you social approval: Chad. Assertive, dominant, successful. Nobody will be impressed by a male that is meek, submissive, and struggling. Such males are not considered gender trailblazers. They're just derided as incel neats. Nobody is offering an actual solution to this. Tradcons tell you to just man up. TERFs tell you to just abolish gender. Liberals deny this reality altogether. Okay, TERFs absolutely do not tell you to abolish gender, but I mean, whatever, that is like the smallest problem in everything we've read so far. It's written that by embracing girl mode, you actually become free to be your authentic self without shame. Society at large requires men to keep grinding and struggling to keep the lights on, so obviously no serious and respectable person will encourage you to just drop down the pink vortex, but it's possibly the only thing that will actually help you if you're stuck being a crappy male with no prospects. When people like Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate talk about how young men today are completely disenfranchised and nihilistic about the state of society and their roles as men, this is what they are referring to. I mean, obviously this person is delusional. The fact that they think it's actually easier or better for them to transition rather than just work on improving themselves as a man. But I think the fact that someone could feel so disillusioned with what it even means to be a man and so lost is indicative of how few strong and positive examples of masculinity there are around today. And I can bet you like 100% this person does not have a healthy relationship, probably with either parent, but definitely not with his own father. And look, if you are an incel who's watching this and who's maybe transmaxed or curious or anything like that, just stop thinking about gender as a way to get ahead or become oppressed in life, because that's exactly what the SJWs do, and it's not working out for them. Instead, try to just focus on improving yourself as a person. Forget about the whole gender issue, because look, if you really are worried about attracting a girlfriend, then hey, being a successful, happy, confident person, that will just naturally have women gravitate to you. Even for people who do have gender dysphoria, I don't even think that transitioning is necessarily the right option. So especially do not do this if you don't even have gender dysphoria.
Use fear to induce something approximating the same kind of level of tyranny, as far as I'm concerned, that characterized the vaccine lockdown. Help me sort that out and understand where you stand.
I see these huge levels of depression and despair, loneliness in kids, and I don't think that there's a single cause to it. And I think blaming it on, depression about climate is probably oversimplistic. And in fact, I think a lot of the problems we see in kids, and particularly boys, it's probably underappreciated that how much of that is coming from chemical exposures, including a lot of the sexual dysphoria that we're seeing. They're swimming through a soup of toxic chemicals today, and many of those are endocrine disruptors.